Welcome, guys and gals, to Waverly, Ohio. This is the McGolf Fitting Room. This is what's in your drawers, and it's a golf talk. And what we're going to talk about is golf equipment, golf fittings, golf repairs, and golf opinions. And to get things going, as usual, if you would please like and subscribe down below, and that way you get more of the videos when I drop them. If you're following me on another social platform, if you aren't, then if you would, being awful noisy over there. If you would, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and or Twitter at McGolf Custom Clubs. Now, this is being simulcasted into Facebook, so if you're having trouble with YouTube at the time, you can try Facebook, and you should be able to find me over there as well. So let's get started, shall we? Man, we're already at the top. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. So, number one, we'll start with the new, and then we'll go into the old for the what's in my drawers. I got a new camera. I got a new Panasonic camera, and it's the S5. I don't know if you can see the S5. There it is, S5. And just newly released camera. It's the first camera I ever had where the lens actually comes off. I've been shooting all my videos with what they call bridge cameras, and they're a large camera to be sure, but the lens does not move, so you have to have a very, very nice lens for it to be applicable. And the camera I had was very good to be sure. What this is basically a logarithmic leap up, and now instead of being able to do all my adjustments here, I have to do all my adjustments here. I have done some testing with it, and the picture quality is just it's pretty good. And for what it was, it's really, it's certainly a markup for me. And there's still plenty of room to grow. But it's something really neat to learn, and it does very, very well in pictures and in low light, and it also goes into 4K. And for those of you guys that are into video, apparently it does like 60 frames a second and 10-bit. So apparently pretty good, and that's what I'm learning now. So that was the toy thing, and I also used it with the new Rode video mic, the Video Mic Go. It's the new, they call it Bluetooth mic. It's basically wireless, and you guys have seen that. It's been sticking right here in the past. Very, very clear. It's very, very neat. So there's that one. Okay, so what's in my drawers? Now, this one, we're kind of going back to the original. So this weekend, I had a little bit of time, and we were, we kind of do celebrate the holidays in kind of a minor fashion. And coming up is Halloween, and you'll see something here in the next couple of shows what I've been doing. Anyway, I had to clear it out, and I looked up and I had all these golf shafts. And I thought, well, you know what? It's just time to reorganize the golf shafts. And lo and behold, what did I find? Well, for all those of you guys that have been asking me, is there a steel wood shaft out there? They don't make them anymore, but by golly, I got some. I have got, look at here. We're going to start here. Right there. I have, this one is the only one of its kind that I have. The rest of them are dynamic golds. If you guys remember enough, this is the TX90s. These were supposed to be like a 90-gram driver shaft, although I doubt it is. It's probably closer to 100, maybe more. Anyway, I have a whole bunch of ALs, and those are the dynamic golds. I have a handful of Rs, and I have 2 S's. And they're the 335 tips, and they're 46-inch long, just like this guy. It was funny that I found them because, and we're going to do a little test here. I brought my micrometer, a digital micrometer, by the way, that I found these. And this is the whole idea of the what's in my drawers. Now, you see these guys where they've been blued, where it's been heat treated. Now, the reason why this is important is this. Even without measuring, you can tell that those are bigger, right? This is a 335 tip. So what in the devil is this? Well, let's find out. So I got my little digital micrometer, and it's set to 0 right there. And for those of you guys that are machinists by trade, I'm sorry right now. And it was closer to, I'll give you a number here in a minute. There we go. And this one is 277 or 278, which means about 277. And that 277 in the day was a standard tip size. And we're going to measure this guy too and see if it's not the same. Now this one is just slightly bigger at 295. And I believe that there was a number back then, but the reason I believe that this one, now this one's a little shorter, and the reason why I think this one is a little bit bigger is because this is an X300, okay? It's an X300, where this other one is a stiff flex. It's the dynamic gold of yore, and, oh, I'm sorry, it's a regular, it's an R300. So we have that one. So what did these things go in, right? What are they going? Well, they went into woodwoods, all right? When they left the wood heads and wood shafts, the wood heads stayed around to be sure. And what you may or may not have found those into were either bore-throughs for the woodwoods, or in the day that the 277, that was a standard tip. You didn't see 335s until very, very, very much later, most likely into the 90s when Louisville Golf was still doing them. And then what they did is they inserted a metal sleeve into the hosel to take up all the vibration for the bigger hole that they had to make, and it made less wood on the outside to hold it. And that's basically what it comes down to is, you know, the necessity is the mother of invention when it comes to this size, right? When it comes to that size, and you really needed to have a lot of wood around the neck. And then what you would do is you would reinforce it with the whipping. And that's what you do. And this was not an uncommon practice. This was what they would call heat treating or burnishing the end of the club in order to get it in there. And at some point where they thought maybe that because the wood, the glue in the day wasn't very good, and maybe that helped them out. And sometimes what you'd see, there'd be a pin or a pin hole in the back to hold it in there. I mean, there was just all kinds of ways to make this thing stay. And that's what that one's for. So when you guys are feel yourself in the need for looking for a steel shaft, there you are, right? And so they do exist. They just don't make them anymore. Now, on the other side of things, I did find another shaft company. We'll talk about graphite shafts. We're moving into the 2000s now. A friend of mine, his name was Charlie, started what was called the SK Fiber Company. And this is the pure energy shaft. And it was always like after that, I always thought it was named after that alternative pure energy song that you always heard. This is an S-Flex, and I came up on 8 of these guys, brand spanking new, still in the sleeve that I still have. Now, SK Fiber was in its day was a top-end shaft. It was very well made. It was for I would call it the medium average to above average player. It gave you a nice soft feel, a slightly higher than average ball flight, but not much. And it really got out there with a good feel. It was a well made shaft. I believe it was in the day when it was a Korean shaft, when the Koreans were really putting out some extraordinarily good stuff at the time. And so we found 8 of those. So that's going to find its way into it. And then last but not least, and then we'll talk about the differences in these two shafts. I found this. You guys will probably like this. This is going to be cool. I found recoil, black and green. How about that for a custom shop, huh? The 807s in an F3, and the F3 was to be a regular flex. But I'm here to tell you guys, this plays a little bit more than advertised. And what you had here, if you see that, how that's a very stout tip size, versus maybe, yeah, this guy. We put them there together. There you go. See the difference in them? All right, that's just the way that they are made for a different kind of response and a different kind of profile. And that's what we're going to be talking about right now. So the graphite shafts are very much more viable in the fact that they have multiple profiles that they can use, right? And for the guy that is all the way from the guy that's the very fast swinger, that's a very aggressive tempo, to the very slow swinger, that's a very smooth tempo. Those are radically different shafts. And so with the placement of the graphite or the pre-preg and flags, and the way that you would manipulate the way that the grain goes and the way that they get wrapped and where those flags go on the shaft, whether it be a whole flag or a partial flag, would tell you how that was going to react. Now, the way that they find this out from the entire shaft, they do what's called an EI curve, and it's just exactly what it sounds like. And what it is, it's every half inch, the flex is measured, the torque is measured, and then you get a curve on how it is. That's where you see those curves from those manufacturers play into. And so the designers get to figure out, how much is needed at the top, how much is needed at the bottom in order for kick points, bend points, counterbalancing, tip flexibility, butt flexibility for those guys that need to bring a whole club around, the whole 9 yards. It's the science behind it is actually very, very cool. And you have to know that. So the last bit before we start going on, because I'm really getting onto this because I like shafts. The graphite shafts there's two kinds, right? There is a what they call a wrapped shaft, okay? A wrap shaft, which is taking those pre-pregs and you wrap them around a mandrel, which is a steel piece. Looks a lot like this, only it's solid, and you wrap the pre-preg around it with a press, and you press it together, and you keep doing it, and you build these layers and layers and layers and layers and layers until you get what it is that you want. Then what you do is you wrap it in a cellophane, and you take these hundreds that you've made and you put them in an oven, and that cellophane squeezes it and it keeps that shape. And when that gets done, the cellophane's removed. Sometimes they will sand it into a particular shape. Sometimes the way that it's made, it's already where you want it to be and it's all done. I think that they pretty much maybe give a light sanding just so that the paint will stick. And then they do the painting, which I think is I still haven't figured out how it stays on there without scoop or, striping or any of that kind of other stuff. It's so cool in what happens. Anyway, and then the other one is called filament winding. And filament winding is basically taking this same mandrel, and you will tie a string of graphite on the end, and this thing turns. This thing is turning, and then as it's turning, it's feeding along this line and coming back, much like a bait casting reel. And what it'll do is it'll go along, and it might go back and forth in a couple of spots and then go back and come back and then come back here and then go all the way down, all again on imitating the pre-preg. Now, what's the difference between the two? There has been some hybrids where they will filament wind the inside and then sheet wrap on the outside for feel. I've seen it done. It's okay. I don't think it really took off. I think it worked, but it just never gained any traction. So so pros and cons, right? The pre-preg or the wrap shaft is what feels the best. Its feel is the way to go. The multiple ways that you can put it together are almost infinite, right? And depending on the quality of the graphite, the amount of epoxy, there's always these combinations in order to make a quality shaft. And that's the reason why you're seeing such varying prices, is because the quality of the graphite just changes radically. So at one point when graphite took a big giant jump is because the airline manufacturing industry was in the same level as making golf shafts, and they got a bunch of contracts to make those Airbuses, those monster things. So they were buying it all up, causing a shortage, and that caused the prices to jump, and that's the reason why they went up so much. The other one is in the winding is the filament winding is very, very consistent all the way around. Very consistent all the way around. It's a very from a dynamics point, it's very consistent all the way up and down. The whole thing with spines, the whole 9 yards, that doesn't exist. But it can be very, very harsh. Its feel is not nearly as good. Now, there is another good shaft out there, Pedersen. They were the ones that used to do with Rapport, who used to do that. They had quite the following. Now Pedersen's out there and making many, many shafts, and he's getting good reviews. So, you know, if you're liking something to that event, or you like the way that maybe that sounds for you to be made, I would look up Pedersen and see them. Golfworks has them. I don't know if they're all by themselves or not as of yet, but that would be the way to go with that, and check those out. So there we go. What was in the drawers right there? Oh my. And again, for you guys that are joining in, that again, like, subscribe, and check out the other social platforms, if you will. And let's go and see who's here. All right. Here we go. Tubbsy's back. He's in the UK. Too cold. What a dude. I saw some videos from Shields and Finch, and they're wearing their toboggans and their vests, so it must be getting there. And Brendan, thank you again, guys, for I know it's late over there, so again, thanks. Northern Ireland, huh? Even the mice are wearing leg warmers. That's pretty good. We definitely, Brandon, you need to send me a list of some really good some good courses to see up there, because eventually we are going to come back. And in Northern Ireland, I believe that's where, if we ever to do the family tree thing, that I believe that's where my branch might be from. All right. Brian, UK, that's pretty easy to figure out. All righty, here we go. First one. Henry. Jim, what's the exact center of the club face? I extended my irons a ½ inch, and I am hitting the middle of the club face, but very low, like the 4 bottom grooves. Can you please advise? Keep it up. Well, what the exact center of the club face is, let me get you something here. There's one of two ways of determining what is the center of the club face. And we're going to use the Bertha, the one I put all that tape on. All right, so it can be a calculated / measured piece. So from here to here in the center line, so it'll go straight across, and you can go, and that would be the center of that club. Now, that's a measurement, right? That's just like measuring your room. What's the center of the room? Now, there's also what's the center of gravity of the club. And that gives you basically the sweet spot. We'll use my old, well, can you see that? Nope, let's use the other one. Oh, heck, that was even worse. So we'll even go like this. So they have a center of gravity machines, and basically it's a thing of, it's basically a rod that's a little bit smaller than that, and you balance this so that it stays on there. Look at this. I'm almost there. So pretty close, right? So if we mark it, and what you can do is you can run a pin up through the bottom of it, and you can mark it, which would put it like right there, which is about what you're looking for, okay? Because you want the center of gravity under the equator of the golf ball so that it will go up. Now, you can get too far too low, and that's happened before, and you can get too far too high, and it creates a poor hitting golf club. And so what you look for here is the center of gravity, particularly if you can get right about there, to where if you figure out the equator of the golf ball, if the golf ball diameter is 1.62, so 0.81, so 0.78-ish, you can get it, that's just regular. If you want to go higher, obviously you got to get smaller or lower, which is what's happening here, right? This is where all that weight is at, and that's going to drive the center of gravity lower, and for it to fly higher. Now that's a good thing when these lofts are very, very strong. Okay, it's very, very strong, and that's where you need to go. Now, if you're on about the fourth groove, would put you right about here, where this finger is at. And that's probably not a bad spot, to be honest with you. But hitting it low because you've increased it a half of an inch, it could be where you might be doing like this in the swing. And we're talking about just little teeny pieces. So maybe you move the ball back maybe that much in your stance to catch it more down, and because golf is a tremendous game of opposites. The more you hit down, the more likely it is to go up, right? The more you try and hit it up, you go like this, and you've made the club short, and now you're going to hit it in this neck of the woods. Whereas if you hit it down, of course, I'm exaggerating. If you hit it down, it's going to climb up the face and go that way. But that's what I would look at. I would say the half inch, although it puts you in the middle of the club face. Two things. One, recheck your lie angle to make sure that you're interacting with the turf properly. And then two, play around with ball position, because if you're finding it in the true middle, going from heel to toe, then it's going the other way, and that's what you got to check. Okay. Paul is back. How'd the visit to the doctor go, Paul? That was the last thing we were waiting on. Hopefully that everything went well. Withamsville, nice. All righty. Hopefully everything is okay, man. Oh, how did you were you able to finish out the season with the guys over there? And that was at the Ohio Valley golf thing. Were you still part of that? Let me know. Here we go. London again. Guys, thank you again for checking in. Any reports on was it too cold for you to play, or how did the single links go for you? Matt had a chance to go play for a change. He wasn't a soccer dad this time around. And where did we go? Hope all is well. Shot a 77 on Saturday, 41 in the front. Look at that. Tells me I need to play more. Absolutely. I will say this. Here's a number for you. I went and played a scramble at a local VA golf course, which was a 9-holer. The difficulty rating was not very high, and the guys I were playing with they play in a league there, and I just got invited because I could go. And we went through there and shot a team aggregate of 56. So we did okay. The only reason why I didn't go lower is we parred 2 par 3s and 1 par 4, but I made up for it with an eagle putt on one of the holes. It was a par 5, obviously, and we're able to get at least one back. And we got beat by a team that birdied every single hole, shot a 54. So not too bad. we did pretty good. It was fun. It was a good little course. The whole way around it, I kept thinking executive par 3. And it'd probably be a very nice one at that, to be sure. And there's Sis in Wisconsin. Just to let you know, Dad and Robin were walking out on the road. They got in miles today. So you can ask him if his legs hurt him, because he hasn't done that for a while. Dave from sunny and nice Michigan. Are you sure it's nice, man? I know it's Michigan. Come on. But sunny. It's sunny here, actually. It's doing pretty good. The weather got down to its 30s and 40s in the morning, and then in the 60s during the day, but we're slowly climbing back now. Yeah, you like that one? It's a Yeti, and they call it the Blue Yeti. Why? Because it's, blue. And it does work really, really well. I had one when they first came out, and I took it back. There was too much mic at the time. Now it's just right. I think it does good with the voice. There we go. I like the flight. If you're getting it, just means that I think it's just a timing thing. But again, I would check with the turf interaction first, Henry, and then see what's going on with that. Joe, Leeds, UK. Well done, guys. Well done. Oh, by the way, what do you guys all think about Sergio winning? You know, it wasn't a high level tournament, but the dude came back, right? Had the lead, going into the third round, or really close to it, and then had the lead, and all of a sudden some guy sprung forth and just went crazy, going low, and he got he shot basically even par on the back except for the eagle and the birdie that he needed on number 18, and he threw it down. Good for him. Glad to see he's back. He's always an enjoyable guy. I like the fact that he gets fiery about his golf game, and maybe not too fiery, but now enough. Now that he's got two kids, so uh, it's good. All right. Do you think here's one from Matt? Do you think the PGA show or the PGA Tour ever use a different set of rules? Oh, you know what? Every time you see that discussion for rules is every time somebody that they don't expect to win wins, and or when somebody just comes out of the gate and obliterates a golf course, minus 25 or some crazy low score like that. Case in point, as we were talking, is DeChambeau. He was one of two people under par, and the rest of them were even or worse. And he basically took on the golf course and won. And they were just all talking about, oh, how they need to change this and how they need to change that. Well, what do you mean? There was one guy, right? It was one guy. Then just a week or two earlier, DJ blows out the field by 10 strokes, and they're like, yeah, well, it was DJ. What? I'd be looking at that, right? Because behind him, it was, he was 20 something. The next guy was 15. Well, there's a whole trackload of them that were in the teens. I'd say this one, you had a guy that basically didn't take his foot off the accelerator. But honestly, I completely believe that, they want to roll back the ball and keep the rules the same. And pretty much that would be it for them. But I just don't see that. We just like in sports, we like seeing home runs and touchdowns and people dunking the ball and scoring goals. People want to see them hit the ball far, jarring it from, 8-iron out, that kind of stuff. So I can't believe that it's going to come anytime soon. But if they all start beefing up like Bryson and they all start hitting 340-yard drives and they all start throwing easy pitching wedges in from 180 yards, then yeah, we're probably going to see some changes. All right. Matt from Illinois, LA Golf Shafts. LA Golf Shafts used to be a company that was known for very, very well-known, very well made upper-tiered golf shafts. And what it was is that they didn't offer anything else but. And when you do that, you have a very exclusive clientele. Now, the guy that joined LA Golf he was in charge of Aldala in their design concept. And I've had a few LA Golf shafts in there, and they look to be very, very well made, including putter shafts, which was really quite funny. And they did very, very well. Now, are they worth the money? If it fits you and it works, then yes, it's worth the money. If it's just something that you're buying it for a particular color or the fact that it says LA Golf on the side, then no, because chances are it may not work for you, and then why spend all that money for that? So that's where I would look at that. But yeah, I mean, is a good golf shaft? Yeah, they're a good maker of golf shafts, and as long as you get the one that fits you, then all day, right? Space Coast. I don't know if that was the takeoff from the cartoon or if you're talking about the Florida Space Coast, like what is it, Daytona, or the Port Canaveral. We have Port Canaveral. I got something coming. I gotta get the wife's attention. Hey. FedEx is delivering, and you just never know what that could be bringing. FedEx is delivering. The van was coming around. Okay, so Space Coast. If this is truly where we've been at, the Port Canaveral, that's it. My tender stayed there over a weekend. Just so happened to be during the Daytona 500, and we also pulled in on my sub. We pulled in there as well, and a great little base. And all it was for replenishing and that kind of stuff. And it was always really close to that. So we stopped into Cocoa Beach, and needless to say, we were in the Navy and very young, and that was a blurry nightfall. There's Willard. He's back. Good deal. Did it get really, really cold up there? Mr. Sean, how are you, sir? And here's something new. Stephen from New Albany, Ohio, home of some very, very nice golf courses. Thanks for joining us, Steve. Dustin, nice. Here we go. Matt, you're fitted, and the fitter recommended a D9 swing weight. Oof. Shouldn't they account for the club necks and reduce the swing weight accordingly? Sound like you went to Club Champion. And yes, I think they would. D9 seems to be let's two schools of thought again. That's the spec of the club that you fitted to, and that's what worked for you. Okay. The other part is a D9 swing weight. You've got to wonder how you're going to get that, right? If you're even shorter than normal or a lighter shaft than normal, it's going to be completely unhinged balanced. It's just not going to be right. So you would think that you would want to maybe you do need something a little closer. You just and maybe you do need something heavier, maybe because traditionally now it's D2 is the number, maybe D4, D5, but D9, that seems awful, awful heavy.
Dave Schultz hitting balls.
Oh. All right. Sweden's back in the house. I know your season's done from that. Are you doing okay, man? From your diagnosis? And is it done for everybody else? Let's hear about Sweden. Okay, Dave, what do we got? I gave him a 33 inch, 355 gram putter with a stock 65 gram grip. What effects would changing to an 85 or 95 gram hit on feel or performance? Well, chances are, Dave, what it's going to do is you're probably going to putt a little bit better. Now, what do I mean by that? In almost every instance, when you counterweight a putter, and I mean, if you were to take that same grip that you like and you installed a weight in the back, whether it be a balance certified or the tour lock, almost every time, 99.8% of the time, the putting gets better. And it's a rare animal that feels the head weight change radically. And you're talking about, 20 to 30 grams, which in reality is in a putter, because you're swinging it slower, is almost undetectable. Now, I think it would be better for you because it's heavier, puts more weight. It slows down the fast twitch muscles, right? Like that. It slows those down, and you probably will like it. Just don't get if you're used to something that's very small and you get one of those that's like that, then no. But if it's just slightly larger than what you're used to, or if your hands are bigger already and you were using too small of a grip, then you're really, really going to like it. But I think you're really going to like it. How about that? There's Dustin again. Just got a set of McGregor MX3. I don't know. The MCX3. Oh, 3 through 10. Okay, the pitching wedge and the sand wedge. MCX. I'd have to look those up myself and see what they're from. Now, I don't recall, but remember McGregor was still viable in the 80s and 90s as well. It might not be nearly as old. I'd have to see them, unless, of course, they are one of those really old traditional blades that have like a signature on them. But they were also viable in there. But I don't remember calling them MCXs, because I was actually a distributor. We used to make them just like we make the Mizunos now. I'm trying to think. It might be something like that. You just never know. Let's see. And there's from the UK. Okay, all you guys from the UK and everything. You guys recognize that hat at all? Well, let's say there. Special hat. It actually fits. And it came from there. See which one of you guys can come up with that one. San Jose. Is it finally clearing out? I talked to my grandson just yesterday, as a matter of fact, and I asked him if he was going outside, and he said no because of the smoke. And I said, well, show me a picture. And he took me, because we were FaceTiming, and he said, hey, I said, it looks sunny to me. And he looked out and he says, well, yeah, I guess. And I said, well, go out and see if it smells like wood burning. And it didn't. So it was pretty cool. I was enjoying that. All right. Tatted golfer. There you go. I have uncut shafts 37 to 41. I need to cut them. And I need to cut them a quarter of an inch longer. Why? If they have to be longer, so if the 37 and a half needs to be 37 and 3/4, then you're going to have to extend them. And they make a steel extension, and I would recommend that highly, and glue them in there and go for an extra quarter of an inch. Now, keep in mind, if your uncut shafts going in to this, the 41 there, if you are not including the length that you're going to gain when you install them, because you're going to gain anywhere from 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches when it's installed. So you want to keep that in mind. So do a dry fit. Take a piece of fishing line or a small piece of plastic and put it in the head, or put it on the head. And this obviously is not going to fit, but you put the piece along here and then kind of press fit it in there. And then that way you get them solid together, so it's all the way down at the bottom of the hosel, and then take your measurement and then see what you need. That might help you out. Here we go. Well, look at that. Apparently, I just answered that. Yes, put them together before you do that. There are a couple of companies that will cut the shaft and then install them. I've seen Mizuno do that. They do it a lot in Europe, and not necessarily over here, but they'll cut it and then they'll install it, and then they'll do a final measure and then they'll put it on. I just say put it in there once you find the right flex, and then cut it to your length. So there you go. Now, as far as cutting them, I did a video. If you go through the library, I did one specifically on cutting a golf shaft. And if it's steel, the easiest and most basic way of doing it is a tubing cutter. Now, you want to be very, very patient with a tubing cutter. It'll make short work of it, but don't try and crank it down and try and get it all in one shot. You want to get it around so it makes its cut, and then crank it down. And about 4 or 5 times around, you'll be through it. It's not a big problem. If you don't like that, then like a grinding wheel will take care of it in short order. or even if you wanted to go really brutish, you could use a reciprocator with a fine metal blade. But I wouldn't recommend that one. Let's see. And Stephen Davies, let's see. There you go. Right? That's the right answer. Glenn's with us. Could you describe your simulator setup, fiber mat, and flight scope? Well, Glenn, since I'm sitting in the fitting room, hold on a second. Okay, guys, get ready. We're going on a trip. Here we go. I'm going to bring you around. All right. Let me take you off here for a second. There's what I hit into. So I just had this made as of October of last year. And that's basically an 11 by 11 net, or 10 by 10 cage with some extras, and then I stretch out the net. And it's a two rear wall to catch it, so in case there's a hole. And then what you see there is my fiber belt mat. That's that country club setup, and I put everything in the middle. And then what happens is, and you're seeing the edge right down here underneath. We're going to go under the desk. I don't know if I want to show you this, but if we go under, and there's the flight scope and what it looks like right there. And that way I never have to move the flight scope. And then what it is that if you were to take a look from there, that's my hot box. There's right there's the TV that you can see everything. I Bluetooth it from the flight scope over to there. That's the light to show you how cool we are over here. Robin's getting ready to be on there. She's sitting outside. That's where all the fitting stuff, or all my heads are at. And then we're back to here where all the shafts are. So let's put you back. All right. There we go. So that's what it is, Glenn. I mean, it's about a 38. I think it's 36 or 38 feet long and about 20 foot or 18 foot wide. If you're looking for something that was just basically excellent, I would go 20 to 25 foot wide if everything's just going to stay in the middle, even if you're simulating. And then I would change the back net to maybe an aero netting, or that stuff that you can buy from the vendor in Michigan. And if you're just simulating and not doing what I'm doing, then I would move this back. I would make and not the wall so much like this, but I'd make it like that. And then and you can project. They got these now projectors that are going almost 360, at least 180. And that would be cool. And then you would have the projector above or in below. I'm not a fan of below, but that's where it would be at. Timothy, he's back, and he's from Kentucky. I don't know, were you around? Did I tell you I went to Perry Park? It was a couple weeks back. Very nice. I just wish they would have ran the doggone lawnmower. It felt like I was golfing in a jungle. Outside of that, I did like the layout. The people were outstandingly nice. All righty. Joe, I use a Fujikura Motore 7.2 X-Flex. Yeehaw. Way to go, man. That's what you call a lot of strength and a lot of swing speed. You know, that's a massive shaft, dude. And it's stout to begin with. I bet that thing is playing more like a 8X or about more like a 3X or maybe even more. That's pretty impressive. Phil, welcome. That's for you, buddy, right there. See what that's going on. Scott's checking in. Michigan. Man, we got Michigan, Ohio covered up. And now we got California, right? There you go. Well, we're going back. It's going to be Scotland, though. Well, Northern Ireland and Scotland both we're going to do. Appreciate it, Brendan. All righty, here we go. Hey, Jim, thanks again for the great content. 10 to learn question. Can you give us a rundown on what to do if we would like to build, if we would like you to build something for us? Okay, so here's how it goes. And just here as of late, Robin took a phone call from a guy from Roanoke, Virginia, and another guy from, I believe she said Texas, and they're interested mostly in the Mizuno product. However, so number one, it happens in a couple of fashions. Number one, they will either go get fit by somebody that's reputable, like a club champion or something like that, and they will send me their specs. And what I'll do is you send me the whole thing. You send me what the flight scope or the TrackMan, what the TrackMan is giving you. I get all that stuff from them so I can interpret what they're trying to give you. And then what I'll do is I'll send you an email of what and normally they're very good, but there's sometimes like that swing weight thing might be a little bit off. And then I'll send you an email of what I think would work and how it can be done. And then typically it's a phone call, and we'll settle it on the last bit of the phone call. And then that way we know exactly what you want, exactly how you want it, and from the grip all the way down, length, loft, lies, flexes, the whole 9 yards. And then you talk to Robin, and we get a down payment from you. Now, and sometimes in full if that's what you're feeling. Now, in other cases, people already know exactly what they want and how they want it, and they will tell me, I want this head with this shaft and this grip built to this flex and built to that. Boom. And then there that is. And Robin will give you, and again, I give you to Robin, and we tell you what the cost is. When it's all said and done, we send you a spec sheet of what we did and the clubs, and away you go. There you go. Here we go, Stefan. I've got a heavy 3-wood head. Holy cow. Well, Stefan, two things. Now, 321, that is kind of heavy. A couple of things that you can do is, so it sounds like you've been doing, so you can do some club work. A 70-gram shaft is, I will say, somewhere between standard to heavy. You could go down to a 60-gram shaft in the same flex for the same kind of shaft. That would bring you down. And then you got that 50-gram grip. They do make you could try that without going really, really big. They got that thing called the secret grip, or the grip secret, and it has a back weight in it already, and you just slide it on. It's real heavy, and that would lower you down. Okay, because we know swing weight is nothing more than a trick on a scale, right? So if you're really heavy over on the head and you want it to come back, you got to get really heavy on this. And what happens is that the total weight just becomes so insane that you just can't swing it. So you got to keep this balancing act, because for instance, let's just say I told you that. So we just lowered the weight in the shaft, and then we just basically went heavy, up here, and we went heavy here. So now this thing is racked and like that. It's just going to be pretty tough. Now, if the 3-wood had removable weights, I'd remove the weights first and foremost. I would try that. But 221, that seems like a lot. I think it sounds like somebody may have threw some weight in there. But just to trick it, just purely from a swing weight point of view, lighter shaft and a heavier grip would do it. And you can also see what the length is. Okay. If the 3-wood is a, standard length is 43, not 43 and a half, not 42 and a half, but 43. If you're at 43 and a half or even 44, and you just cut it down and put that same grip on it, you'll kill it right there and you'll be fine. And it sounds like it was made to be a shorter club anyway. Okay. All righty. 70-gram graphite shaft. I find the torque is too high. Would Nippon Zealous steel be a solution? Well, it can be. Are you a fairly aggressive person when it comes to something like that? Unfortunately, so let's go back. So 70-gram shafts in irons is anymore, when you see iron shafts, you can see some crazy low numbers, 65, 70 gram. 70 gram is actually a pretty good number in average, much like a 60-gram driver shaft in the day, or even now where it's getting lighter, even heavier. Where 70 is, you'll see that a lot. However, it goes with a lighter flex. Here's the dog. She's getting ready to whine on me. Let's see if she's going to do this. Nope. So anyway, so it tends to be more flexible, and when you get that, you do get that higher torque where the torque is starting to where it gets very twisty, right? Now, what I would find is that you might try, if you might look for that KBS TGI 70. It's right there, right there in those. That thing is a pretty decent shaft, and it's not very twisty at all. And I hate to take you out of Graphite just for the mere fact that it has such good vibration dampening qualities. Although that the Nippon, it makes a great shaft to be sure. I would take a look at those TGIs because they play very, very stout. Oop, I went a little too far. All the way up here. Guys, where did I go? Every time I get off of here, it goes all the way to the bottom. Here we go. Dustin. All right. Yeah. There is a lot of Louisville Golf. Actually, Louisville Golf is a shadow of its own self anymore, but they are doing very, very well in the Hickory. They make the Hickory golf clubs. There's been quite a resurgence of that, and they still make the wooden putters that I'm aware of. Outside of that, not much more. But those Hickory shafts are very, very cool looking. The Atmos orange shaft that comes in stock on the M6 driver and regular. Other than I have orange in some hybrids, and they seem to work really, really good. And if they're working good in hybrids, that would mean that they're not as twisty, right? And so the orange should be one of the. It's not the higher like the blue, and I believe there's also a red, right? Or no, I'm sorry, Atmos. That's wrong. I was thinking 10 size. Sorry. I have not seen the Atmos orange yet. And if it's orange, I wonder if it's not, is it proprietary to TaylorMade or no? That'd be something to see. I would like to see that. Nicely done. Now that's what you call a concerted effort right there. If you can get down to almost a 0 from an 8, that is some serious golf, man. Congratulations. Congratulations. That's a way to go. Yes, they are. They are very nice. Yep, I just like how he came through. I mean, some of those guys, they just know how to they know how to be clutch, and that's what's happened. I like it. Yeah. Yeah, that's a little too fiery in mine, James. I'm with you on that one. That's a little too fiery. I want to see him get excited, that whole jumping up in the air and seeing how his shot was and running up the fairway to see how well it went. Not that killing a bunker or killing a green for that matter. That's just uncalled for. Here we go. On the range, impossible to play here this week. Currently getting used to one length. Woods, 3 wood, 5 wood at 40. I'm 5 yards short, but 10 yards tighter. Well, that's a give. That is certainly a give right there. Nice. The 3 wood and the 5 wood, huh? That sounds like a deal. They're going well. I'm glad. I just see those things doing very, very well. I do. I just see them doing really, really good. South Mountain, Ontario. Sonny's back. Sonny V Golf. There we go. Had some morning frost delays. The starter rounds courses here usually close up shop in October. Okay. I was going to say I was not sure where that gets and where that doesn't get. I've been to the western part of Canada, and they had a McCleary golf course, which was for us. And they say they play their season is very similar to ours, or here in Ohio, where they can, if the weather goes right for them, they can go deep into November. However, after that, it's done. Here we go. December 9th, right knee replaced after rehab. Well, that's okay. You got to take care of yourself, Paul, and get that knee replaced, do some of the rehab, get some of that weight off, enjoy it, and tell Bill I'm thinking about him. Hopefully he's still doing it. I haven't talked to him in a while, but hopefully he's getting it around. He's doing good. Yep, I know, Bill. Ask him who the feral Nazi is. He'll know exactly who you're talking about. New Jersey here. All right. Did I play golf when I was in the service? I played one round of golf, and it was pretty much a disaster. And we played at a military base. No, we did not. I'm sorry. It was in Washington State. We were stationed in Bremerton. My boat was in Overhaul, and we lived on the outskirts of it near a place called Silverdale. And we virtually lived across the street from the golf course. And I passed that thing every day. And somebody finally said, let's go golf. And I'm like, really? And, yep, let's go golfing. I'm like, okay, fine. And we went golfing, and I couldn't believe how hard it was. I couldn't believe how hard it was. I couldn't believe that a guy like me could miss a ball like that. And it was infuriating. And I think that was what really got me interested in it, in the fact that this game wasn't as easy as it looked. And for those of all you guys that do play it, you understand what I mean. There you go. Look at that. Knee replacements all around. Kennedy Space Center, Merritt Island. There you go. Kennedy Space Center. Went there once as a kid. I think taking kids there is an important thing to learn about the history of the Space Center. I think it'd be great. Rob's back. Great White North, Edmonton. So as I understand it, and you guys in Canada can flog me, but I understand that the hockey season's over. The cup's been played, but I don't know who it is. So we'll keep going. Yes. Here we go. Hey, in Syracuse, New York. As the temperature getting colder and the fingers starting to tingle around out there, what are your thoughts on double gloving it? I say absolutely. If you're one of those guys that's stout enough to do it, they've got those warm gloves. They got those warm gloves that go on both hands. If it helps you and you're not so bundled up you can't swing, I say do it. Matter of fact, those hand warmer pouches that they have, some of them, just keep one in your pockets so you can keep your hands warm. Keeps the golf balls warm when you're going from hole to hole. Now I will say that you are the man when it comes to getting out there, and if you're getting to the part where your fingers are tingling and you're considering gloves, that's you get to keep your man card all day. Russ is in. Very good, buddy. It is getting late, isn't it? Don't we all, bud? Don't we all? Dave, you are more than welcome, sir. Here we go. He's got a Scotty Cameron Newport putter. I'm thinking of getting a heavier grip. Do you think it's a good idea? Well, we just talked about it. Yes, I do. I like heavier grips on putters. Personally, it's one of my personal things. Now, it doesn't have to be a sledgehammer, but heavier grips will certainly slow down the fast twitch muscles, and if you get them just slightly larger, they can do that. Now, I will give you something here. We're gonna, for those guys that hold the putter like they would hold their iron, right? I see this a lot. And I can't tell you how much of difference this makes. Now, you're looking at a left-handed guy. I'll do it right-handed. All right. So this is why I see a lot of guys doing putters. All right, they grab it just like they do their iron, and they get a lot of flipping going on. All right. So here's the thing. Do this. Do that. See that? Take that and take that hand, just reverse it. It's going to feel odd about the first 5 putts, but the putter is going to stabilize in a way you've just never met. Probably so. Probably so. I believe it to be. Oh, I don't have a link, dude, but maybe it's down there. Timothy got it. St. Andrews. That's it. And I even got the clip from there. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's upside down, I know. It just says the old course, St. Andrews Links. That was a very, very cool thing. There we go, early 80s. So I wasn't too far off. Bean, any luck getting a loose piece of hot metal out of a driver head with only one hole in the bottom of the hosel and add a new hole port on the bottom? If it's a loose piece of hot melt, what you might try to do instead of trying to get rid of it, you might just try and get the bottom hot and melt it back down. And take a small torch and just run it across the bottom keep the flame moving and run it up and down the bottom, and just keep it going and get it warm, and hold it so that club is in its playing position, and get it like that. And then when it's all said and done, go to a piece of wood, not your carpet or anything, because you'll melt it, and just tap it ever so slightly and see if it won't go back and stick. Because it might not be hot melt, it actually might be a piece of slag, and the hot melt is what's keeping it in there. And so you're rejuvenating it by getting it warmer and stickier, and it get in there, and then let it cool off, and then get it and see what happens. But outside of that, I wouldn't drilling a hole in the bottom. I've seen it done. When you do that, then you have to thread it and put a little set screw port, or a set screw in the bottom of it. And I don't know if I'm a fan. Glad you like it, Dave. 12 foot, Rob. It's 12 foot high. And I've had a 7 foot tall basketball player in here not come close. Doug, I'd like to see it come in up from Florida as well. I don't know if I should tell you this, but I just had a guy from Venice, Florida in here this weekend. He has a lot of family in Dayton, and he came to visit. 70-year-old, he's a good golfer. Man, had a really nice swing. Good golfer. We got him into some hot metals, and he's going to be throwing it out a little bit better. Checking in on Facebook. Hi, Lorinda. How are you today? Rockland, California. Thanks for the tip last week about the lead tape. There you go. There's a lot of tape. Yeah. I'm not a fan of the rubber tungsten squares, but if it gets you there in a smaller space, just make sure it's in an area that doesn't bump up against the other clubs, like into the cavity, that kind of area, on the back of that kind of stuff. All right. There you go, 87. That'll work. Anything under 90, man. Yep, we did that one. We talked about the Akron. Should you tip, cut, then spine and flow? Yes. Well, What I do is it's kind of a yes and no. I find the spine first, and then I find the flex that I'm looking for and tip cut to what I need, and then I dry assemble, and then I do flow. And that way you get the best of both worlds. Uh, well, you can use like we were talking before, they have a balance certified grip, Lorinda. They have a tour lock. Check out Golf Works and see what they're doing. If you're going down 4 inches, try about a 100 grammer. You'd be surprised what that'll do for you. You're welcome, Glenn. Heck, guys, I'm 5 minutes over, but we're almost to the bottom. Here we go. Here we go. Steve Michael, 16 pars of birdie bogey yesterday. Senior clinic starts tomorrow. Turns 69. Nice. Go get him, buddy. Let's see another. Let's see you shoot your age in the middle of your in the senior country club. That'd really throw everybody for a loop. Oh, there's just as much as I'm a Ben Hogan fan, as far as the old ones, there's just no comparison. They, I mean, they were great and they were forged and they were all those things, but they were, they had the big hosels and the center of gravities were to the inside, and they're not nearly as friendly and they're super weak in comparison. They're gorgeous to look at. They're super difficult to play, although other blades aren't exactly easy, but in comparison, that's like a night and day concept. I mean, I like them. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan. However, they're just night and day. There you go, Doug. Well, if you ever get up there, let me know, because I'm only an hour and 45 minutes away. All right, about 3 more, guys, and then we'll be done. Yes, it is, Dave. Where do you think it got me? All right, here we go. I saw that thing, that the Autoflex that the guys at TXG did, and it's just odd. I don't see anything that would make them illegal. The only thing you can't, as far as shafts go, is it's got to be concentric, and it can't have this alignment in it like, the whole spining and flowing thing at one time was illegal. Now it's not. But as long as it's round and it has a constant taper, it doesn't have a bunch of bubbles in it or anything like that, it should be okay. But I guess it's a high dollar shaft, buddy. You get ready to empty out your wallet. Oh, there we go. Now we know. Tampa Bay. You wouldn't even think that would be a thing. There you go. Hand warmer. So I'm getting close. All right. Rhode Island. There you go. Eddie from Rhode Island. Thank you for showing up, buddy. 68. Oh, he just Googled it. There you go, guys. Here you go. Gotten myself into a mess with swing weight by doing my own clubs and shorter graphite. Would love to send you my clubs to you. Christopher, send us an email on what you're looking for, and Robin will get with you, and we'll see about what we need, and we'll try and get you taken care of, man. She's already taken care of you. Last one. All right. Is there an easy way to replace a broken ferrule? No. Without taking it. Now, I will say this. There is a company out there that makes a split ferrule that's made to go together. Okay? And then you just got to finish it off. They do make those. Again, check out, I believe Golfworks has got them. If not, check Billy Bob's. And it's a split one, so you put a little glue on both sides, shove them together, slide them down and mount it, and voila, you're done, and away you go. All righty. Whew. Okay, guys, as long as I went, 6:39. They were doing a great job. Again, guys, the UK, Ireland, Rhode Island, East Coast, West Coast, Michigan, Ohio. I mean, good gravy, guys. Thank you so much for participating. And again, if you would like and subscribe when the thing gets posted, check me out on the other social platforms. And as always, I got to get to my spot here. Let's see your scores go low.